Well, guys, the Canes have been eliminated from the 2025 NHL playoffs, so it is time to look forward to the future for the 2025-26 season. Got some blockbuster trades to cover, potential offer sheets, and many more roster changes to make to the Hurricanes to make the team even stronger for a potential cup run next year. Quick public service announcement before we get started, though. This is my friend Chuck. And Chuck is very sad. In fact, he is dying because a very small percentage of people who watch our videos are actually subscribed to us. And that needs to change. By clicking the subscribe button and subscribing to our channel, you can turn Chuck into the happy weasel like here, and everything will be better. So I'm joined by Jack today, and we're going to discuss what we think would be the ideal offseason for the Canes this year. And to do that, we're going to start by talking about the players who have to exit, who are going to be either retiring, going to different teams, or kind of just moving away. Hit us with some stuff, Jack. What you got?
So, first off, we've got Burns and Orlov, our two big free agents this offseason. So, Burns is 40. He's starting to age. We've heard rumors of him wanting to stay with the organization. We'll see if that happens, as there are some other options that we'll talk about. Dmitry Orlov looks like he's just been replaced by Alex Nikishin, so I believe that Orlov's he's gone, especially with this playoffs this season.
He had a rough go of it. Now, playing your offside is tough, but I mean, it's understandable. The second piece we have in terms of moving out, and this again is not set in stone, but this is our ideal offseason. I think it's time to pull the plug on the Jesperi Kotkaniemi experiment. And best case, make a trade where you get him out. Worst case, you have to buy him out, I think.
Yeah. As much as I love KK, he's not fulfilling the 2C spot that we brought him in for.
And I don't think it's going to get any better. I think at this point, KK would be a good third line center, but you've got Stahl for another 2 years, and that does not fit our timetable. The last thing I've got is we got to figure out, like, in terms of the current exits from the team, you got to figure out what to do in Burns' spot. And the Scott Morrow situation kind of comes up because he played some in the playoffs, but I would not say he played excellently. And he was definitely rough in some of the games he played. So you've got to figure out whether to keep him or move him because he is getting to a point now where his contract will be up soon and he's going to want to play consistent NHL minutes. All right, so second thing up, we got the new guys that are moving on up. So we've got Alexander Nikishin taking Dmitry Orlov's spot in our ideal situation. And Scott Morrow has the potential to play, I would say. But I think we're going to address the first right-handed defenseman spot later on in this video. And then finally, one more player who I think is going to break the opening night roster in 2025-26 is Bradley Nadeau slotting in as a fourth-line winger, which technically completes the lineup, but we've got some changes to make. Don't you worry.
All right. So these are the draft picks that we're dealing with right now for the 2025 picks. We have a first rounder, a Tampa third rounder, fourth rounder of our own, 2 sixths, and a seventh. And these picks, semi we can use in the draft, but let's just talk about the assets that we can use. So we have the 2 first-round picks and 2 third-round picks from Dallas from the Mikko Rantanen trade. We've lost our second-round pick and fourth-round pick from the Mikko Rantanen trade. We lost our third-round pick from the Evgeny Kuznetsov trade, our third-round pick with Utah from the Shane Gostisbehere trade the first time we got him, fifth-round pick from Tony DeAngelo, fifth-round pick from Mark Jankowski. So, and then these other ones were just trading like lower-end prospects, and the third rounder we got for trading Jake Gensel's rights. So, looking forward, I think what we need to do is we need to take utilization of some of these first-round picks that we got from the Mikko trade. So, what I think we should do first is we need to make ourselves a little trade. And with our right-hand defenseman kind of looking a little bit worse without Brent Burns as a possibility, we might want to look for somebody that's a little bit younger and on the higher end on talent. So, somebody that's on the market, well, his name's Rasmus Andersson, and he's got 1 year left on his contract. Best thing is we actually kind of looked through Calgary's centers, and they don't have too much center depth. So what better than to put Jesperi Kotkaniemi in this trade?
Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Sorry, KK. It's unfortunately your time to go.
I think with what we have right now, we should do Jesperi Kokaniemi, and I've been hearing a little bit higher asking prices for Rasmus Anderson, so I'll put it somewhere in the middle. I'm gonna put in a Dallas first, the 2026, and like the Toronto 6th round pick, or maybe like, let's do the Tampa one from the trade we made like earlier this year. So trading a center that doesn't work too well with our team and a little bit of draft compensation for a solid starting defense.
For only 1 year.
And,
if Anderson had more than 1 year in his contract, this would be a completely different story.
Oh, 100%.
And then you obviously want to extend Rasmus Anderson when you complete this trade. So now let's go ahead and move Rasmus Anderson up, and we're going to go ahead and take Scott Morrow and place him out of the lineup. And Rasmus Anderson playing top line minutes, and I would swap off the bat. Let's go ahead and make Nikishin and Chatty our second player.
I think I like Chatty and Nikishin together.
Yeah, I like the second pairing of Chatty and Nikishin. So, and for a while now, the biggest need on this Hurricanes team has been a true second line center, which we thought we were getting in Jesperi Kokaniemi, but unfortunately for him and for us, it has not panned out. So we have traded him for Rasmus Anderson in this ideal offseason. So now it's time to look at some UFAs. Now, on my notes, I had Brock Nelson, who has signed with the Colorado Avalanche since I've made my notes. So maybe guys like Brock Besser, Michael Granlund, John Tavares, among others. I think Ryan Donato's in that list. There are plenty of other people you could do. Maybe go for someone who has limited term left. You don't want to have a second line center who's too old, but you don't want to go, I mean, in some cases, you don't want to go with someone too young either. But I think Jack's got us on the hook here with a really, really good potential off of a team who might be trading away a player who played second line minutes and is a fantastic forward.
Well, last I checked, interestingly enough, on the depth chart for their team, this player was playing center on the 4th line.
Makes no sense.
Which is why he wants to leave, and it makes total sense. His name's been out in the media forever now. He's been linked with a bunch of teams. I haven't heard anything about the Hurricanes being in on him, unfortunately, yet. This player could either be traded for or offer sheeted. And in this, because we don't have the 3rd round pick, we need our own 3rd round pick to offer sheet him. So we'll do a trade. But from the Minnesota Wild, the Carolina Hurricanes' future second line center is Marco Rossi. And just for simplicity, we'll act like we traded and we got him for the contract that he likes and the offer sheet range, right? So that's a 1st and a 3rd. We don't have our own 3rd, so we're going to do our 1st and the Dallas 3rd that we got for the Mikko Rantanen trade.
And let's throw in like a 7th somewhere.
Maybe like the 6th that we have from Toronto, something like that. Yeah, something like that.
So 1st, 3rd, and a 6th for Marco Rossi's rights, the rights to him. Now, you would assume that Marco Rossi would sign here if we were going to trade him. We know that we would want him to play a big role in the team, and he would be your second line center. He's pretty young, though, and he's pretty undersized, but he gives you a scoring edge that you don't have in Jesperi Kokaniemi, and will certainly be playing better minutes and more meaningful minutes, I'd say.
So the part about it that's interesting, though, is that, of course, as you can see, we just traded a bunch of assets, and you don't see Marco Rossi yet because we haven't signed him. So the next part that we need to talk about is the deal that he wants. So from what we've been seeing in the media, Marco Rossi's looking for around $7 million and a 7-year extension. Honestly, with the money that we have right now, we can do that. And with his age being, I think if I'm correct, it's 23 years old. I would, yeah. I don't see why you wouldn't. So let me find this bad boy. Yeah, he's 23. So let's sign this guy.
7 million, 7 years.
Let's do that. Sign contract.
Sign the contract.
And we got ourselves Marco Rossi slotting in at our center.
Second line center. So a couple other things I would like to address is we've talked about some other people. And there are 2 names that are huge on the block this year for free agents. Those being the Toronto Maple Leafs' Mitch Marner and the Winnipeg Jets' Nikolai Ehlers. Of those 2, I would much rather have Nikolai Ehlers. because Mitch Marner is a historic playoff dropper on a pretty bad playoff team in Toronto, but still, you don't want to bring these playoff droppers to Raleigh when we have some of those on our team already. So I think maybe if we're going to go for a winger and try and spend more of our cap space, let's go for Nikolai Ehlers. But we're not going to do that in here because we already have our forward core set, our defense core set, and our 2 goalies set. So the final thing is we want to look at our prospect pool, which I've done a series on. Go check out some of the videos. I think there's 4 up right now. There's going to be more over the summer because now that our season's over and the playoffs are done, I will look at them. There are some There are some AHL guys that might be getting some NHL minutes next year. Guys like Justin Robidas, who played a little bit this year. Felix Unger-Sorum could. Maybe Skylar Brindamore. Some guys that you might want to play in a couple games next year. Maybe later on in the season, maybe earlier. Again, you've still got Scott Morrow, which I have no idea what to do with because while I do think he is close to being NHL ready, he's not quite there yet. So he probably will still be the number 1 on the AHL roster and the number 7 on the NHL roster. And the last thing I would say, speaking of the prospect pool series, I would love to see a way for you to get Nikita Arnamonov over to the USA to start playing some AHL minutes with the Wolves so he can get developed with some future Hurricanes players.
Great. I need to look more into Nikita Arnamonov. I need to watch the video you made.
Yeah, go watch it. Linked right here.
Lastly, with one of our prospects recently moving up from the Junior Hockey League, we have Justin Poirier, who had 43 goals last season, moving into University of Maine, which, you guessed it, was our last big prospects home. Bradley Nadeau just came out of Maine about, last year?
I think this was his first year in the A.
Yeah, this is his first year in the AHL. So, great development there. Hoping that he can become a great player. And in the future, let's say we don't get our center for the long term in Marco Rossi. Well, we might get something in Poirier.
Or Robidas. Robidas looked good.
Robidas has also looked very good.
So the last thing we're going to talk about, because this is not exactly an off-season thing, but this is something pertaining to next season, and there are 4 key guys based on the roster we have here who we're going to need to extend. And I believe you'd want to extend all 4 of them. That being Jackson Blake, Logan Stankoven, Rasmus Anderson, and Alexander Nikishin. So let's start with Rasmus Anderson, Jack. What do we think about like a 5 to 6 year deal at about $6 million AAV?
I think based off of how he performs, I think that could be a good deal.
We'll hit him with a 6 year, 5. Let's do 5 year.
Somewhat like a Sean Walker kind of lengthy deal.
Yeah.
Like, 6-ish million. That could be fine.
All right, next one. Let's go ahead and do Jackson Blake.
For Jackson, I feel like it's going to be something. It's not going to be big yet.
I think a bridge deal. I think we need to do a bridge deal with Jackson Blake. So give him like a 2-year, maybe like, what do we think? Like 3.5?
3.5?
Let's do 3.5.
I think we have the money. I think we can do that. Fine with that.
Sign a contract. Logan Stankoven, I think more money there. And I would go ahead and try and lock him down semi-long term. So maybe a 6-ish year deal. And I would give him, what do we think? Is 5 fair for Stanko?
I think.
Or do we want to go somewhere around like the 4.8 we paid KK?
I'm trying to think of this in terms of Marty Necas. Marty Necas was worth $6 million when we last signed him last year before we traded him.
So
I know it was a bridge. I'm just trying to think of like if that's his talent, then what's Stanko? Stanko's a playoff performer. I think 5.2 maybe.
Let's do 5.25 then. Nice round number.
Yeah.
5.25. Oh, 5.5?
5.25?
5.25.
Yeah, you cut out for me there for a moment. 5.25 sounds good to me.
All right, there's 5.25. And then the big one.
Nikishin.
Honestly, I don't know how big this contract is going to be because this is the only one we don't have a huge sample size for thus far. So this could be a ginormous contract. Either way, this needs to be an 8-year deal.
100%.
So go ahead and put the 8 years out. And then what are we thinking here? Because I feel like this is the guy who you're going to have to shell out big for. This is, without a doubt, you're going to be your most expensive contract. maybe on the whole
I'm-
team, but definitely for the extensions here.
I saw a contract talking about Noah Dobson for his next extension being around the region of 10, 25, 11 million. I think
Nikishin's not
for
proven
Nikishin,
yet, but
he's maybe not there yet. It depends on really how he plays next season. If he plays legendary and he learns the language and he starts to just play like boom,
yeah.
I mean, sure, pay him the money. I think right now we consider him around maybe 8 or 9.
Give him 8.5.
I think that sounds good.
I think right now we're going to go 8.5 million, assuming he does pan out. So they sign the contract, and that completes our roster for next year. And at that, we only have 2 free agents at the end of next year. We're not going to re-sign Jankowski probably, and Freddie Anderson will probably be done after next year as well.
The last thing that I will have to say, though, is that although we just signed all these huge contract extensions, we got Blake, we got Stanko, we got Nikishin, we got Anderson, we got everybody locked up. Well, those contracts don't kick in until next year. So as much as money we just spent, if you look at the top here, we still got $21 million in cap space. So what are we going to do about that? Well, what we can do is we can do something like Chicago did in the Mikko Rantanen trade, which is salary retention. If we want to get in big on players like that get traded at the deadline, we can load up on more assets like first round and second round picks that we can start using later down the line and just trade it for cold hard cash. Money. I think that's something worth talking about. Even if we do sign somebody like Mitch Marner or Nikolai Ehlers, we'd have to sign 2 or 3 of those players to really get down there in cap space. So it's something worth talking about.
Absolutely. So as we can see, Eric Tulsky has his work clearly cut out for him this offseason. The Canes want to be contenders for years to come while also maximizing their cup potential in just next year alone. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to click the like button down below, subscribe, and leave a comment letting us know who you think the Canes should sign this offseason. Should it be Marner, Ehlers, somebody else? What do you think about Rasmus Anderson? What are we thinking about Marco Rossi? And what would you guys do differently? Make sure to let us know down below. Thanks you guys again for watching. And as always, stay crazy and peace out.